time from one different person, okay? But we're going to do a review session today. By the way, I am so glad that I'm in Louisiana. I was teaching in Arizona this past summer, and I had a person get offended because I called her honey. And, you know, in Louisiana and Arkansas, if I go to a restaurant and they don't call me honey or darling, I'm not going back, right? So, you know, I'm glad to be here in the South where I can talk to people and they understand what I'm saying. So we're here to talk about population dynamics, okay? Come on in. Population dynamics. First of all, and this is not on the slides, what does dynamic mean? Changing, yes. That's the thing that you got to get in your head. The changes in populations. Know that. Dynamics means changing. If you're in engineering, statics means systems that don't move. And then dynamics means systems that do move. Okay, so we're talking about changes in populations. That's what this study is all about. Now, I don't know if it's going to click like that or not. Here we go. This will. Write down my name. I think they actually have me as Charles, but you're going to get an email. Is that better? Yes, sir. Just write down my name. You're going to get an email, and they're going to ask you to rate this review session. And you're going to need my name when you fill that out, and you might get an Amazon gift card if you cooperate. So that's just not going to work at all. Here we go. Okay. Number one, and the numbers that are on that paper in front of you are going to correspond to the numbers that are on this slideshow. Okay? And we're going to be going back and forth from the front to the back. On the back, if you look, these are like test questions. Okay? So we're going to start by working on the front here. So, number one. Here's what you got. I'm going to keep doing that all day because that's what I do at home. First of all, you're going to write down the word population in the blank. So a population, all the individuals belong to the same species and live in a given area at a particular time. Look at the words that I've underlined. Population, underline the word species. Underline the word area, underline the word time. You see, there's bald cypress trees here. There's bald cypress trees about down at the bottoms, not 10 miles from my house. They're not a population. And it's a weird thing with these populations. And when you start talking about being able to breed, and in a given area, it's like how far can the pollen travel, basically. So the bald cypress that are growing right here, their population would be as far as pollen can spread. But then there's an overlap. If we were to go 20 miles north of here, then the next set of bald cypress trees is in a population of that. And whenever you start trying to define an ecosystem, really it's up to the researcher to do that. You know, define the borders of your ecosystem. We're going to study this one slough. That's the only thing we're going to study, this slough. Well, no, wait a minute. If you're going to study that slough, you're also looking at hawks that are coming in and out all the time, you know? So these things are sort of fluid. But at a given time also, the bald cypress that were here 400 years ago are not part of this population. They were a different population at that time. All right. So, population size. There are 4 variables. Births, deaths, immigration, and emigration. I'm mispronouncing those words on purpose so that you hear them. Every immigrant is an immigrant. If I were to decide to move to Louisiana, which I'm not, I like rocks. But if I were to decide to move to Louisiana, I would be an immigrant to Louisiana. Yeah, changing states makes you an immigrant, you know. I would be an immigrant from the state of Arkansas. I would be leaving there. I would be coming to this state and relocating. Now, they're going to have a formula here, down here at the bottom. Don't memorize this formula. You're going to have to know how to do this, but don't memorize the formula. All you got to do is figure it out all the time. So population change, how could you find the population change? Well, let's think about it. What are going to be the two things that's going to make population grow? Speak to me. Immigration and births are going to make it grow. So watch. Okay, those two things are positives, right? Okay, what's going to be the negatives? Deaths and immigration. All right, so look, I'm going to add these. Now I'm going to subtract these two things. Now I want you to think about it. I've got deaths and I've got immigration. And I want you to think about, what do I need in the middle here? Am I going to add these together or subtract them? I want to add these together so I can subtract the total of them. You with me? All right, now, you could do it like that. Or you could look at it like this. You could go with births minus deaths. I don't even know how they did it over there. And then you would want to add immigration minus immigration. What I'm trying to get you to see is you can recreate this thing if you just think about it. So when you're on the exam and you have a question asked of you, you can recreate this thing. You don't have to sit down and memorize. Okay? And then if they want to know as a rate, all you have to do is know the number of people that you're starting with, or the number of animals that you're starting with. And then you can make it into a growth rate. Okay? So you can recreate this thing when you need it. And we're going to do that today. We're going to do a math problem or two. All right. The rabbit illustration. Over there on the right side, logistic and exponential growth. You see they left you a space, or you can do it on your notebook paper. Y'all know about rabbits in Australia? Y'all know what's going on with the rabbits down there? You ever seen any pictures of the rabbits in Australia? They put up fences to keep the rabbits from going into areas where they haven't been yet. And along those fences, there's like thousands of rabbits. Now, their populations spike and then crash every few years, but the rabbits are a problem. What happened was, think about it. Who was it from Europe that went down to Australia and moved there? And those British gentlemen wanted to hunt rabbits. So they brought the rabbits down. Now look, here's the number of rabbits. Yeah, Wascowee rabbits. Come on in. No.
This is the road station. The kids need this so they know what room to go to next.
Okay.
So on the way out, pick one up.
All right. Don't let me forget those.
Not today.
So, number of rabbits. When the rabbits were released in Australia, what do you think happened to the population? Because they reproduce like rabbits.
Yeah.
Right? Now, could this population grow forever? That's a lesson that especially economists need to learn, is that populations can't grow forever. There are folks out there who believe that the human population can grow forever. There's not enough resources for that. We live on a limited planet. That's part of the big lessons for this class. So, the population, when it's growing like this, okay, we call this the logistic growth. I'm sorry, we call this the exponential growth. So with exponential growth, if it could go on forever, and y'all know exponents from your math class. It's pretty simple to graph. All right, but because it can't grow forever, what eventually happens is it's going to level off and come back down. And in Australia, it's just up and down like this. Huge, all the time. But in Britain, and by the way, rabbits were not native to Britain. They were brought across the English Channel. It looks more like this. Okay? It doesn't go up and down quite as much. Now, why would it be that it would be more leveled out in Britain than it is in Australia? It is predators. It's exactly right. In Australia, there's nothing that looks at a rabbit and thinks it wants to eat it. But in Britain there is. Huh?
Except for the people.
Except for the people. And they don't need enough of them. So that's the problem. All right, so look. Let me change colors. There is a force that is driving the population up. There is a force that is driving the population down. And what they do is sort of reach an equilibrium. Okay? You know what this force is called that drives the population up? Well, it's the ability of rabbits to have babies. Right? Do what? I'm old and deaf. You got to speak up.
I said reproduction.
There you go. You're right. But we got a fancy name for it. We call it biotic potential. We're going to see it on the slide. Biotic potential. But, and you said predators, right? What's in Australia? There's no predators, but there's still something that keeps the population from going way up. They eat all their food. Y'all got it, you know? And environmental resistance, what we call that. Let's go to the next slides. And then make sure that I talked about everything I was going to talk about. There it is, biotic potential. And it's not on this sheet at all for you to write down. They didn't put it on the NMC sheet. But this is huge. You got to, and basically it's, you know, it's growth. It's generation time, means how old is the animal when it can first have babies. And then frequency of reproduction. And then the number of babies they have in a litter. Comparing rabbits and elephants is real helpful. How old's an elephant when it can first have a baby? Yeah, I don't know either. But do you think it's 1 year? No, it's multiple years, right? We'd have to look it up. What about rabbits? How old are they when they have their first babies? Just a few months old, and they're ready. How many in a litter for rabbits?
Too many.
Yeah, too many is a good answer. And how often do they reproduce?
Pretty often.
Real often. Elephants, you got to contrast it. Elephants, how many do they have when they normally have babies? One. How often they do it? They're going to take care of that baby for a long time before they have the next one, right? Okay, children, you need to be like elephants, not like rabbits, okay? Make your parents proud, you know. Wait a long time till you have the first one. Don't have a whole bunch. Take good care of it, right? That's kind of the goal. So environmental resistance is all of those factors that cause population to come down. You can think of it as like, another way to do it is instead of thinking about it up and down, think about it like a gauge where you got forces driving things back and forth, you know? And one of them's trying to drive the population up, one's trying to drive it down. So biotic potential is driving it up, environmental resistance driving it down. Finally, you reach sort of an equilibrium, and you would think that it would be C, but it's not. It's K for carrying capacity. You know why it's K? That's a good guess. It was because it was a German who first described this. Yeah. So I guess in German, the word for carrying capacity starts with a K. All right. I'm proud of myself. I didn't touch the screen. So we had exponential growth. I drew that up there. Oh yeah, I didn't label the exponential or the logistic growth. Logistic growth, we're just talking about, again, a mathematical function, right? And you get this S-curve. So if you drive this thing up forever, that's exponential growth. But when it levels out like this, it's an S-curve. And so that's logistic growth. That's when you reach carrying capacity and level off. So a bunch of stuff that's not on this sheet, hopefully you got it down on your notebook paper there. All right, here we go. Lord, I don't know you need to write all of that, but you know what the carrying capacity is. Did you get something written down already? You know writing things in your own words is better than writing down what's there. Do you know that writing is a lot better than typing? And let's face it, when y'all are using a computer to do stuff, you're not even typing. You're copying and pasting, right? But the act of your hand writing things gets it into your brain. So I work with my kids at school to write things out. All right, here we go. Now we're back on the sheet. Number 3. Density dependent and density independent. Good thing you don't have to write all that. Thank God. No, thank Nancy. They're the one who made the slide. I'm not get some air if I do that. I always go back to the tsunami that happened when y'all were babies. Big tsunami over in the Indian Ocean. Earthquake, then tsunami. What was that, 2002? Something like that. And man, it killed a butt ton of people. Okay? Now, with all those people dying from that tsunami, it's from an earthquake, right? Would that be a density dependent or a density independent? You got to think about what the words mean. Independent means it doesn't depend upon. Okay? Dependent means it does depend upon. So the question you have to ask yourself is, did that earthquake occur because there's a bunch of people?
No.
Then which one is it? Yes. So you got it. We were talking about the rabbits dying off because they're losing their food. Well, the bigger the population gets, the more food they eat. And so that is a density dependent factor. Okay? And they asked you to write an example down there. Did you get one example written for each one? You can pick from the list. You could write down the earthquake. In Arkansas, it was, I don't know, to me it's kind of funny. Maybe it's not funny. But back when Mike Huckabee was our governor, he wanted legislation introduced to say that tornadoes, of course we don't have the hurricane problem, but y'all do. Tornadoes, floods, those things are, he said, he wanted legislation that said those are not called acts of God. He was offended by that. He wanted them officially called natural disasters because he didn't want to blame God. But if you think in those terms, you can think of density independent things, you know. You can think of them as natural disasters. And most of those are going to be density independent. They just happen. It's just that crap happens, right? All right. Let's see. Where are we at now? Okay. Flip it over on the back. Which of the following is not an example of density independent? Look at the screen up there. Pick out the one. Don't you love not questions?
Yes.
They avoid not questions on the Big APES exam, by the way. So which one is not density independent? He says competition. A bunch of you are smart enough to not say it out loud because you might be wrong, right? Yeah, it is. It's competition. So competition for food, competition for nesting sites, whatever it is. So competition is the example that is not density independent. Okay. Number 5, flip your paper back over. Distributions. There we go. Y'all ever, this is more like Trivial Pursuit kind of stuff, but y'all ever looked up all of those crazy names for the different groups of animals?
Yeah.
Like a group of rhinos. It's called a crash. Y'all heard that? You know what a group of crows is called? Yeah. I guess it sounds like they're going to murder something. Yeah. But, so those would be I mean, we have all kinds of names for them too. A group of birds is called a flock. A group of fish is called a. This is the most common. Critters tend to stick together. Now, plants do too. What do you call a group of trees? A forest, a copse. Yeah, a copse. A grove, a stand. We have a bunch of names for plants that are growing together. Uniform. Y'all ever been to Phoenix? I got to go there for the first time this summer. Y'all know those cacti that stand like this, like they're giving up, right? The saguaro. When you see pictures in the desert, they are evenly distributed. Because if two of them were to grow up side by side, what's going to happen is the stronger of the two is going to survive, and then the other one's going to die. And it's really lack of water. So whenever you have something like that, like water that is just in short supply, then you get this even distribution. Okay? Random are the things that scare us. Mountain lions. They're random. Snakes tend to be random. And so when we run into them, they startle us. Well, they tend to be predators too, Now, the example they gave here, though, dandelions, they don't startle us, they just make us angry. Or they used to make my dad angry. He was always fighting the dandelions. No apparent patterns, what they said there. And my neighbor didn't.
Your dad or the dandelions?
Huh?
About your dad or the dandelions?
My dad, yeah. He was random too. But the neighbors wouldn't get rid of their dandelions, so he'd spend all summer getting rid of them, and the neighbor, they'd bloom, and then all the seeds would blow into the yard, just to piss him off. All right. So you got the clumps and the uniform and the random. That's all you had to write down there, isn't it? Okay. Predator-prey relationships. One goes up. Let's see, where is this? Yeah, this is on the back. Go to the back. And this is a quiz, right? So the questions that you got to answer down below it, you see? So time is represented by which axis? Y'all remember that this is the X, and this one is the Y. Because somebody had forgotten, but they didn't want to say it. The number of individuals is represented by the... guys, when you think about it, the thing that you're interested in is always going to be your y-axis. Almost always, right? Sometimes you do bar graphs that are going horizontal, but that's not very often. All right. Which point on the curve is population increasing at the fastest rate? Yeah. I might have put A, if I think they're wanting you to put either 1, 2, or 3. Definitely growing fastest there. And where does it reach carrying capacity? B or 3. There's the answers they gave. So I think we're doing all right. If all the questions were that easy. Yeah.
5's for everybody.
5's all around. All right. Now look down at figure 3 right below it. We're still on the back there. Figure 3. They want you to answer, they want you to take these letters right here, A, B, C, D, and E, and then place them here. Now that's going to take some thinking. So look at it. And unfortunately, you don't have it on your paper in front of you. Yeah, they should have put it on this paper where you could see it better. A says prey population rises due to a decline in predator population.
That's my on that.
So the prey is a solid line. So which one y'all think it is? Top, somewhere in the middle, or bottom? You think it's the second one?
I think it's
Talking about the prey population rising. Yeah, it's gotta be the solid line, the only place.
Person.
I think you could pick either this one or that one.
But there's gonna be one in there somewhere that says, like, just, like E,
Yeah.
the first one.
All right, predator population rises due to a rise in prey. Let's see, the prey went up, now the predators come up. Maybe this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there it's dropping, right? Prey population falls due to the increase. Prey population falls. Looks gotta be that one, right? That's where it's falling.
Predator pop.
Let's see if we got them right. And I might disagree with them on A and E. I might swap those and still say it's correct. This is an example of somebody writing a question that they think is airtight and it's just beautiful, and then when you start going, y'all ever had test questions like that? Do your teachers throw those out, or are they jerks? They're quiet.
He's cool. There's only one answer.
Such a jerk.
Yeah. I gotta throw those out. Whenever it's funny, we start talking about it. Oh, I didn't read it like that. Yeah, you guys are right. I gotta throw that one out, right? Somebody said teachers never guess. Yeah.
But then if you got it right, y'all beg for bonus. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it works.
I mean, I got it right. You're going to penalize me?
We're still on the back. As the size of a whitetail deer population increases. This one's a little better. As the size increases, what's going to happen? Shut up, Carl.
I mean, I think B would kind of make sense if you have more deer in a certain area. If you have volcanic eruption.
Yeah, that's true. B would be a correct answer, wouldn't it?
My big thing is,
It wouldn't be caused by the
right
deer.
answers. You gotta pick the best right answer.
Yeah, that's true.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of environmental sciences.
In context too. Come on. You know which one they want you to pick because of what the graph they just had, right?
Yeah, it's definitely.
Gotta be.
Volcanoes.
You want some context?
And so it is the volcano one.
You know, if I were going to change that question to make it better, I'd say the volcanic eruption occurs because of the large number of white-tailed deer.
Yeah.
And then we would have a definite false statement, right?
The first deer caused seismic activity.
That's right. That's a bunch of deer. That's too many.
Oh dear God.
Oh, dear God.
All right. Let's see where we are now. Survivorships. You're going to have to do this on your notebook paper.
Yeah, definitely. Right. I guess you wouldn't call the Titanic this.
These are called survivorship curves.
Survivorship.
I just read about the Sultana when I was on the airplane coming down here.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, you don't like me.
Okay, the percent surviving. Now, I'm going to go with 3 different colors here. There's 100%. So we're going to ignore infant mortality, which is huge in a lot of species. But this was a study that was done and said, you know, there's different strategies that different species have for surviving in an ecosystem. Some of the critters are, remember our biotic potential, some of them have really high biotic potential, and that's their survival mechanism. Meaning, we're going to have a whole bunch of babies. Hopefully, a few of them are going to make it. The opposite end of that is going to be your elephants. How many do they have? Not very many. But they're going to survive because if you start messing with your babies, with their babies, you're going to get stomped to death, right? They're going to take care of them. So these guys came up with a way of describing this, and what they said is there's some things like elephants that number stays pretty darn close to 100%. And when the elephants start to die? As they get older. The X is time. And since, you know, different species have different lifespans, we're not going to call it years because, you know, talking insects, we're talking days, you know. But if we go to the opposite, you have lots of babies, you don't take care of them, you just, octopi are the ones that, I always remember the Jacques Cousteau films when I was a kid, and seeing the octopi hatching out, and all of the fish from like 400 miles show up, and it's, you know, octopus, what do you call cooked octopus?
Calamari.
Yeah, calamari.
I'm sorry, I mean, calamari was
Close enough? Yeah, it's calamari dinner, right?
calamari.
What are their chances of surviving for the first day? For the first week?
Like,
For the what the octopus is hoping is that enough are going to survive to produce the next generation. You know? You produce lots and lots and lots and lots and hope that a few survive. The classic example down the center, this is kind of scary. You got a 50-50 chance of dying every day. Songbirds are classic examples because songbirds, man, there's a lot of things that want to eat songbirds. But luckily for them, they can fly. And luckily, they're pretty smart, too, you know? So being smart, being able to fly, helps them get away. But they got about a 50-50 shot every day. Now, which one are humans? We just did a study. 25 minutes. I got 20 minutes. I got time to show you this. We just went to the graveyard and collected a bunch of data, me and my kids.
oh,
We were going to go on Halloween and it rained, so we couldn't go.
besides, you gotta step up the game. Yeah.
I got 3 days in here, I'm allowed to do a field trip.
And so what we did is, we do this with the human geography class too. I'm going to show you the 2016 data because it came out real good. We looked at 3 different time periods. We looked at before the year 1900, and they're right down here. There's an anomaly there, just because not enough data. But look at the infant mortality and childhood mortality. Bunch of babies dying, right? Well, look at that line. Look at how straight it is. If you ignore infant mortality, look at how straight that line is. Then we did up to 1950. The change then was just sanitation. Russellville put in their drinking water plant, and they put in a sewer plant at the bottom of town so that no longer were people going out to their outhouse, taking care of business, and then drawing water from right under their feet to drink. Well, you know, that's what we do. So this line still is pretty straight. We went after 1950 because of one medicine in the cylinder. We went after 1950 because of that. Look at what we were before penicillin, folks. We were a straight line. Look at what we are after. We're curved up, right? All right, let's give these names. They're type 1, 2, and 3, and they're numbered like this. I don't know why they always use Roman numerals on this, but that's sort of the convention. Now, next slide. If I can get back to it.
You gotta make sure you have a bar and it's been around. Otherwise you won't have that free night.
All right, there they are. And everybody puts humans up here at type 1, and yeah, we could probably, that's accurate now, but it's not accurate all over the world. There's some places in the world, you wake up in the morning, you got a 50-50 shot. For this year, you got a 50-50 shot. You know, it's unheard of. Now, and this gets to the flu vaccinations too. You guys are not getting a flu vaccination for yourself. If you get the flu, what are your chances of dying? You guys are 10 foot tall and bulletproof, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting a flu vaccination for me because I'm old. And actually, my mother-in-law, who's 80, my cross-the-road neighbor, who's 80, that's who you're getting a flu vaccination for. It's probably not going to kill you. Or you're getting it for my grandson, who is only 3 months old. If my grandson gets the flu, there's a greater chance that it's going to kill him. You're getting the flu vaccinations for the old people and the babies, okay? So if you didn't get a flu vaccination, you're a jerk. Go get your flu vaccination, okay? Yeah.
If you have the needle and the vaccination, I'll give it to myself right now.
That got them stirred up. All right, look at this.
I've never been more convinced to get a flu shot.
Seriously, I mean, I don't want my grandson to die. You know? We had 80,000 deaths in the United States last year. That is the greatest number of flu deaths since the vaccinations have become universally available. So we hit a new record. Why? People didn't get vaccinated. Oh no, the vaccine didn't work. Yeah, it did. It worked pretty good. It could have been better. But if it had been spot on, yeah, the numbers would have been lower. But still, the low vaccination rate is huge. We just had a measles outbreak in Springdale, Arkansas, because folks are not getting vaccinated. One reason. There's another reason is there's a whole population of folks from the Marshallese Islands there, and for some reason the vaccine doesn't work well in their body, and the CDC's working on it. But so what was Springdale's response? Now they said, well, you don't have to get vaccinated to go to school. They're trying to undo the state law.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that are a hot spot for outbreaks, and now they're wanting to get rid of the vaccination requirement. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. All right, remember this graph? Okay, this is another way of describing this. Look, you've got K strategists. This is number 7 and 8 on your sheet. You got K strategists and R strategists. This is another way to describe the same thing. How is it that a species survives? Well, some of them are K, some of them are R. Remember this graph that I drew? An R species would be one who is surviving because they have a high growth rate. Their population can make lots of babies. A K strategist, Lord, don't try to write all that down, okay? Don't try to write it all down. Just get a few key words. A K strategist, they tend to stay at carrying capacity. They rely on staying at carrying capacity. That's the way they survive. Now, if we can relate these two, This one was Jared Diamond that described this one. I don't remember who described this one. All right, so R species, they have lots and lots of babies. They rely on a high biotic potential. So is that going to be 1, 2, or 3? It's going to be 3. Yeah. So R corresponds with 3. Okay, these guys, they tend to stay at carrying capacity. They rely not on having lots and lots of babies, but on having enough and then taking care of them. So what's going to be the correspondence? Yeah. And 2's just left out. Folks argue that 2 is more like K. That's probably good. So you got to know R and K strategists. I don't know what turtles are. And you know, I had a kid ask a question. Did you say turtles?
Yes.
I had a question the other day. A kid asked me, what about honeybees? Because you always think insects are going to be down here, right? But honeybees, they take care of their babies, right?
Yeah.
Well, we finally decided. We talked about it and we looked it up, and we couldn't find any experts who would give us their opinion. I mean, we didn't email people, but we couldn't find any websites that would definitively say. We finally, in class, decided they must be 2.
Yeah, I would say it's a 2. Yeah.
We finally decided it was 2 because the likelihood that they might sting something and die, committing kamikaze suicide, you know. So we finally decided they were a 2. That's an environmental science question.
You got that, Sykes?
Got that? Bonus point.
Bonus points.
No, don't get her bonus points.
Flip it over. Which of the following characteristics are typical of R-selected species? Do you feel what your brain's doing right now? Well, do you feel that your brain is kind of struggling a little bit? You feel that? Okay, this is as close to studying as we get today. You're having to think of what the answer is, and that's what studying is. You have to work your head. Is one a true statement? Is 2 a true statement?
Yes.
Is 3 a true statement? So the best answer down here, D as in dummy. Yeah. All right. This is the Chicken Little graph. Oh my God, the sky is falling.
Why is that all?
Because there's too many people. It's just, oh my God, it's just terrible. Have y'all seen the more recent graphs though? Have you, if you change the scale and you look from about 1970 until now, does it still look like it's just shooting for the stars? Population growth for humans worldwide? No, it's leveling off. We need to start putting those graphs out. The human population is, the pitch of it has dropped off. The growth rate is dropping. The total fertility rate for the world is like under 3 now. Yeah, that's good news. Now with the total fertility, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's slides on this. I went back to doing my bad habits. I'm going to come back to that. Do I want to do that? Man, I'm getting out of... All right, we're going to come back to that idea in a minute. We're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to do 9. Look at 9 on your sheet there. There's a wonderful little mathematical formula that's based on calculus. I went up to the calculus teacher. Man, our calculus, AP calculus teacher has a 90% freaking pass rate. You know, you don't take calculus unless you got a good shot at it anyway, right? But I mean, this girl is a hoss. But I went and asked her, would you show me the calculus that this is based on? And she showed it to me, and she sat there and worked it all out. And I said, okay, that's nice. And I folded it up, and I put it in a file there, and that's all I've done with it. You know, I hadn't done calculus since 1981. But it's based on calculus, and it's real simple. The growth rate percentage and the doubling time have a relationship. R percentage is a growth rate percentage. We say growth rate percentages all the time, and folks don't realize how big they are. I mentioned Springdale a minute ago. Northwest Arkansas, Springdale, Fayetteville. It's a big conurbation. Sounds like a dirty word. It means a group of cities that have grown together. They have a growth rate of about 7%. Oh, it doesn't sound too bad, right? 7% growth? Yeah, it's a lot. Look, just apply it to this formula. With a 7% growth rate, how long is it going to be till their population doubles? They can't build elementary schools fast enough. They can't build fire stations fast enough. You want a job as a cop? Go up there. They're hiring. You want a job as a fireman? They're hiring. You want to work as a teacher? They're hiring all those positions. They're building. You can't build sewer fast enough. You can't put in new water systems fast enough. And you can imagine what the housing costs have happened. Oh yeah, they've gone through the roof. So 7% growth rate is huge. It's tremendous. Okay? This simple little formula allows you to know that. And a lot of people don't realize it. Look, you can flip this thing around too. If you know that a population doubled in a certain number of years, right? What if I told you, man, this population doubled in 35 years. We looked at the numbers and it took 35 years and that population doubled. What was their growth rate? 2%. You see how simple this is? This is going to be on the exam, guaranteed. This is going to be on the Big APES exam in May. they will ask you a question on this, and the numbers like I've just given you, that's the kind of numbers they're going to give you. They're going to give you a 7% growth rate, or a 2% growth rate, 3% growth rate. Oh Lord, now you might have to do a little long division and then go to the decimal places, right? All right. I caught myself. All right. This one's on the back. We got 5 minutes. This one's on the back. I think it is. Yeah, there it is. Very bottom on the back. How many years does it take for a country with a population growing at 2% to double its population? Okay, what you did, what you just did, you did it in your head, and then you just vomited some numbers, you know, and on the multiple choice, that'll work. If they give you one of these on a free response, and all you do is write down 35 years, you know you're getting 0 points. Most often on math, what we give is 1 point for a setup and then 1 point for an answer. On the setup, you got to have your units. On the answer, you got to have your units. And for a long time, what we would do is, oh, they got the correct answer with the units. We'll give them one of those too. Pretty much, we've stopped doing that now. No, it's not all or nothing, because look, you could do it like this. What you could do is this. You could do a setup, and this one is a bad example because there's not really units, you know? But if there's a problem you're setting up with units, you show your setup, but you don't put units on it, are you getting points? No, because you didn't have units. But then you get the correct answer with units, you get the 1. Yes, we have to see that you attempted, that you did the math, that you wrote it out. Yes, that's what we are requiring now.
So we have to write out our formula and all that.
But listen, let's say it's a division problem. Okay, let's say it's a division problem. Lord, I'm not good at making them up on top of my head. But look, let's say it's a division. That's not division. Let's say it's a division problem, and you have something like 100 divided by 50. I don't have any units on there. I'm not getting the points. But if you look, you could set it up. You don't have to set it up with miles. Let's do miles per hour. This would be slow. I've trained my kids to do this. If you set it up like that, you got your units. You're going to get your point. Then you work it out, get your answer with the units, and you're going to get your point. Yeah.
So quick question. If you do it like that long division style versus a fraction, if you do it as a fraction, that's okay as well,
Yeah,
though,
you can
right?
do it either way.
Okay.
When you use the dimensional analysis.
Yeah.
So this is dimensional analysis, and this is the way that we always want to teach kids to do it, right? And your teachers are hammering you with this, right? But if you do it like this, and you put miles per hour, we're giving points in Cincinnati. Okay? We're giving points for that. So if you do it like this, the smart thing to do is just take an extra second, write this down, then write your answer, and you know you're getting points then. But if you're lazy, like some of my kids, they'll just put the units right there, and then I'm obligated to give them the point because I told them I would. And we're doing it in Cincinnati. All right. So this one was 35 years, wasn't it? There you go. But again, if it's on a free response question, I would set it up, and I would show dt is equal to 70 over our percentage. Then I would have dt is equal to 70 over 2. dt is equal to 35. On a free response question, that's the way you want to set it up. Mathematics is about communication, y'all. Look, this is your introductory sentence in a paragraph. Here's the body of your paragraph. And here's your closing sentence in your paragraph. You got to start thinking in terms like that. All right. We're coming down to the finish here. We're going to come sliding in. This is number 10. Birth rate and death rate. CBR and CDR. They gave me 45 slides to do. When I put together my own PowerPoint, y'all can't read it, there's 45. When I put my own PowerPoints together, I know that I can only get through about 20 in a period. They gave me 45.
If you want me to spend a minute a slide, you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't do that. 1 minute a slide. All we do is just flip. Man, demographers like per thousands. You don't think in per thousands, right? You think in percents. Well, what's a percent? It's per 100. Per means, in mathematics, what?
Forever.
Huh? Out of? Means division. Per means division. Was that a blind hog finding an acorn, or did you know that for certain? This is a skill you guys got to work on, and I'll talk to the teachers over here too. Changing from per thousands to per cents and all of that, kids get freaked out. Oh my God, did I move the decimal place the right way? You know? Look, it's pretty simple. I think they got an example. All right, look at this. And then we're going to finish up with this. Look, 19 per thousand. If I can show you this, I can give you some real good information. Look, this is per thousand, and demographers like per thousand. But very often they'll ask you for the answer in percents. Well, look, per cent, a penny, right? There's 100 of them. That's what cent means. So look, what we're asking when we say percent is, there's your per, and here's your cent. Well, this is simple. Look, to change this, all I had to do was, I just moved the decimal over one place, you see? To the left. So now, I have to do the same thing to this number. So I move it right there, so this one would be. By the way, if somebody starts talking about a country, if they start giving you growth rate percentages that are above like 1 or 2, don't believe them. Countries don't grow that fast. You can have that in a region. Do I?
You can have what your fertility rate can be. If like you have like a third world country where they're having to replace all the people that are dying when they're young.
Yep. They can have a lot of births, but a growth rate is never going to be. So keep that in mind. Growth rates, if you do a math problem and the growth rate comes out to like 10 or 15% for some country, you probably messed up somewhere. It's probably 1% instead of 10%, you know. I always like to do this too. Look. Per 1. Well, so how far do I move the decimal? 2 more. Right? Or did I screw that up? I screwed it up. There. There it is. Yeah. So that's per 1. And sometimes you need to think in those terms. Per individual. Okay? All right. These are real numbers here, by the way. So, and it's time for us to go. We got as far as we could.
Where we go?
Yeah, you need these
Oh yeah,
little
pass
cards.
those out.